Well, hello again, race fans, and welcome to Season 12, Race 11 of the US IndyCar League here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's the Las Vegas 190 presented by StickQuik. And so great to have you with us as we get set for a full day's action here at the Speedway. Of course, famous racetrack to IndyCar, been with the schedule in the past, but no longer part of the schedule, of course, after the tragedy of Dan Weldon passing away. However, the US IndyCar League today, looking forward to a great race, and so we'll take a look here at the current qualifying as they head out on track. This is Mike West getting in his first qualifying lap of the day. Hope you're having a great Sunday. And of course, it's morning time here in the United States, but we are racing at night in Las Vegas, so expect very little fall off on these tires for the race today. And it should be a lot of drafting, a lot of pack racing, so not a lot of opportunity to break away, and therefore qualifying at the front, not the most important thing in the world, but always great to get that extra bonus point for qualifying. So Mike West currently shown in P1 with a 25:01. Sorry, it's actually a 24. Yes, 20. Time's changing extremely quickly, faster than I can keep up with them. Howard Livingston, last season's winner here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, now on pole position, 24:76. But some of the big names yet to come out and put their times down. Here's Ryan Bowles going to the apron. Was it good enough? It indeed was good enough to move him up to pole position thus far. And here's on board with Will Stearns. See if he can manage to get a good qualifying effort in today. Haven't really been able to talk too much about Will. Sometimes he's been fighting up at the front, but unfortunately had his share of issues over the season. So Will now completing his very first lap. We'll see how good that one is. Currently good enough to move above season champion Graham Bunyan, who his first is actually, yeah, there he just puts in his second lap, good enough for pole position. Graham Bunyan does. Last season's champion and soon to be crowned champion of season 12. Graham Bunyan now on pole position. We ride along with Will Stearns as he completes his second lap. Does a little bit better. Now jump over to Jason Lowe, who was the 3 times running champion of the US IndyCar League. Trying to put in that stellar qualifying effort and hopefully get his way up to the front. Seeing a new name popping up in the order as well, as Jason Lowe puts in a 4th fastest time on his second lap. Andrew Dirks showing up to race here in the US IndyCar League. And great to have him with us. So Andrew's going to see if he can, well, it's actually showing that he's already put in a couple of qualifying laps, so he wasn't able to really crack into this field very far, unfortunately. He's going to be starting closer to 11th. David Strid now on track. Of course, he's won now in the series. He's gotten second and actually supplied the setup for today. Currently running now in second place. He qualifies in second for today's race. So Graham Bunyan and David Strid, first and second. David Zaleski, another driver with a lot of talent, already with a win this season. Any week that he shows up in the order, he could be a factor, but he'll be starting today's race from 9th position. And indeed just finishing up this session, so we'll be able to give you a full rundown in just a moment. And so on your screen, there you go. It's Graham Bunyan with your pole position again here in season 12. Something he's very familiar with, sitting on pole position. But again, it won't matter as much today. I think if anything, he'll be very happy to have David Strid, his friend and countryman, next to him. Hopefully being able to fend off some of these hard-charging cars from the back. But again, you can't count out someone like Howard Livingston, who's qualified 4th here. He's currently running up in the points, and could be a factor here today for sure. So, David Zaleski there on your screen, and these cars get ready to roll. A couple of names we didn't mention. Rick Kelbaugh getting in a great qualifying time ahead of Dan Ensch, one of the series favorites. And unfortunately, Mike West again not really getting in a great qualifying effort, or Iñigo Mardones. But again, it doesn't really matter too much in a race like this, where there's lots of drafting to be done. Potentially a number of cautions going to be coming our way. So we get set for today's action. We'll be doing 127 laps around Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Of course, pay tribute back to Lionheart, the man himself, Dan Weldon, who lost his life here at the Speedway. You know, Las Vegas has had a number of great races. It's as you can see, it's a traditional D-shaped oval, kind of like Charlotte, Texas, etc. But it races a bit different, and it is unique from that standpoint, and always produces great draft pack battling. So if you're a fan of that, you know, in real life or in sim, this is a great chance to see it. Unfortunately, that's not really in vogue, and quite dangerous in real life, but it seems to work out at Texas. It just didn't quite work right here at Las Vegas. I remember back to when Champ Car came here as well, and it was as much of the limitation from the wing package that they brought here, the aero package that they brought, causing the cars to be all bunched up. And well, it was very exciting, but the drivers did not really enjoy it and thought it was extremely dangerous. Nevertheless, that's the great thing about iRacing and getting to race in the US IndyCar League. Very clean group of drivers, and gives you a chance to really go out there and settle in and not feel like you're necessarily racing with super aggressive people on an official race. Just part of what's great about US IndyCar League. But here we go, getting ready to start the race. Graham Bunyan on the pole, David Strid next door. Ryan Bowles, first American on the grid, looking from behind.
Green flag, green flag.
Graham Bunyan brings us to the green flag. Ryan Bowles immediately down to the inside of David Strid. Some cars begin to settle in here on the first lap. Looks like everyone else kind of settling in just fine, but at the front, it's Ryan Bowles and Graham Bunyan. Bowles to the lead, Bunyan giving him the lead. So we continue here on lap 2. It's Bowles in front, Strid now around Graham Bunyan. And we expect these cars to be able to go 34 to 38 laps on the fuel window today, thanks to Dan Ensch for letting us know that, giving us the info so we can tell you and keep you informed. But looks like things not quite going to plan in the back for Graham Bunyan, or in third place for Graham Bunyan, as he's now slipped back to third. Strid now challenging Bowles for that lead position, and now he wants the clean air, so Strid up into first. So Ryan Bowles back to the lead again. He's not done. We'll go on board and see what it looks like from the cockpit and looking back. Switching on board with Graham Bunyan as he looks forward at David Strid and Ryan Bowles here, working on lap 5 with 127. The Las Vegas 190 presented by StickQuik. So these cars just settling in for the long haul here, deciding where they want to be for this long 30-lap stint. Whether they want to challenge each other or they want to come forward is all part of the plan. You got 127 laps to do whatever you really want to do. Now we take a look as it looks like David Zaleski. Those of you who are used to Zaleski in his familiar blue paint job won't recognize him there in the orange and black. It took me a minute to figure out who that was, but that's his default paint job. Looks like David getting a jump on our commercial livery policy set for next season, and we do appreciate that. We try not to offend anybody with our egregious use of commercial logos. Jason Lowe now up a position in 4th place, and as I mentioned, on his flank is David Zaleski, up 4 spots already. So as the leaders, Ryan Bowles and David Strid continue to swap positions back and forth, these battles going on here in the mid-pack. Unfortunately, for the care camps, fans of Howard Livingston, he has slipped back a couple of spots already. So last season's winner here at Las Vegas, just kind of settling into this one. Even though he's drifted a couple of spots back, he's really less than a second back from the overall leader, so just about 3/4 of a second back at this point. So he's still looking like he may be able to have a great race today as he challenges the inside of David Zaleski there. And just behind him, you can see Rick Lovison moving forward. He did lose a spot on that start, but trying to bring it forward. Perhaps he'll end up on the podium today. Someone that we frequently do focus on for good reason, for obvious reason. It's Mr. StickQuik, Richard Kelbaugh, who qualified in 7th, and he's unfortunately fallen a spot back. So your top 10 only separated by a second at this moment. We look back at the front. That's Ryan Bowles. He's managed to keep that lead away from David Strid for a couple of laps now. This driver's flying around this racetrack. We're already 10% of the way done with this race. So Bowles leading Strid as they jockey to see who will be in that first position at the end of lap 13. There's Graham Bunyan now on the inside as Jason Lowe tries his outside. Not able to get the pass done. Lowe isn't on the outside. Cars over 220 miles an hour. As always, seems to be that magic number. It's where these drivers live, is over 220 miles an hour. Some of them living upwards of 230. Seems to be anything slower than that is just a crawl. So Bowles continuing here to break the clean air for the rest of the group here in front. He's gained 2 spots already. showing his D-shaped oval racing skill. And we do appreciate you joining us over in the YouTube chat room, watching this race live, giving this video a like. We appreciate it. Of course, you can subscribe and like this video. It'll get the last round of the US IndyCar League coming up next Sunday. Should be a very exciting one at Indy. Make sure that you are around for that one next week. But this one has already been a lot of fun. Ryan Bowles now down to the inside, defending against David Strid here on lap 18 in Las Vegas. And more movement behind David Zaleski, now sitting in that 5th spot, trying to work on the corner of Jason Lowe. More than anything, I mean, you're kind of just looking for a spot to hang out with your car on the track. You know, you got to take up some space somewhere, as Jason Lowe now working the outside on Graham Bunyan. Will he get it done this lap? We'll find out. Looks like he's got it clear. I don't know if he's going to complete that pass, as it gets held up now on the outside by David Strid, but looks like Jason Lowe now preferring that outside line, and David Strid also kind of taking notice. If you look at Graham Bunyan, he's running closer to the bottom. Of course, now he's being held down to the bottom by Jason Lowe there on the outside in the blue and white machine. Told that these starters had very, very little fall off today. So not expecting a huge amount of tire degradation, and that will really allow these drivers to kind of move about freely on the track and not be as afraid to be pinched down low, or maybe run the upper groove if that works for them. Gives them a little bit of freedom as far as their line goes. You can see it's 78 degrees on the track. 79, apologize, little font on my screen, tough to read. 2 miles an hour cross free, so really nothing going on here in the desert in Las Vegas, Nevada. Just a nice, I mean, I'd love to be in the stands, honestly, on a night like this. This is pretty perfect. Of course, as we jump out to the wider view, you can see it's a sold-out crowd here. 11th race in a row for the US IndyCar League to draw a sold-out crowd. It's amazing how these virtual fans turn out for these races. But back up at the front, it's been the Ryan Bowles show. He came forward from third position right at the start, about the 2nd lap in, and he took the lead, and he's not giving it up. Now, we do expect Ryan will be one of the first vehicles to enter that pit lane, and again, we'll look for that here coming up in about 10 laps. The reason for that, as we mention every week, is these oval races especially are fuel mileage games, where a track like this, you can go an extra 1, 2, 3 laps if you can save some fuel. That will allow you to potentially trap your opponents a lap down, or in general continue around the track with a light fuel load, and that will allow you to get faster lap times than if you don't have a light fuel load. So it is a trade-off. There is a lot of strategy that goes with it, but in general, most of these drivers are going to be trying for something, you know, that is a fuel saving race at some point. Now, Dan Ensch Unfortunately, we're seeing that Dan has dropped back. We don't have any sort of notes that shows why he dropped back, but right now he's shown 7.9, almost 8 seconds back. We did have Andrew Dirks crashing earlier. This is fortunate that this did not bring out the yellow flag. Let's see if we can tell what happened. Andrew just coming out of the kink on the front straightaway. Huge hit right into the wall. You can see it kind of overcorrected and put it into the wall. Unfortunately, out of the way quick enough that it did not catch out our leaders and cause a caution. Otherwise, that might have been an early caution that the drivers would have taken advantage of. But nevertheless, Dirk's out. I believe he's still sitting on pit road, possibly trying to get the car repaired, but he was out on lap 18. Unfortunate for the newcomer, but great to have somebody new joining us. And at the front now, I think it's David Strid. David Strid, who is making his way into the pits. Continues down. It's a very long pit lane. It's a long, long ways. Can't even see the car through that camera, but David Strid now coming down to take his service for the day. This is very, very early, lap 31. Perhaps trying what we call the undercut strategy, which is to, as you can imagine, come in earlier than the competition, go out, have clean racetrack, and see if there's a way that you can set a faster lap time than when you were held in check by the rest of the cars in the draft. So go ahead and put the track map back up there, and you can follow along and see where David Strid is. There currently has the green circle around him, but those little initials DS out there. Follow your favorite driver and where they're at. So now we do expect that the leaders will be making their pit stops any moment now. It is Ryan Bowles who's now coming into the pits. Will he make it down? It does sound as though he did make it down to the correct speed. And so not going to be facing a penalty for speeding on pit road, which is always a costly thing. But we look back at the lead, and it's now going to be Graham Bunyan who's coming into the pits. Seems like every time we jumped on a car, they've decided to pull it off, so we appreciate that. Looks like Graham Bunyan, as I mentioned, able to get down onto pit road safely and at the right speed. He'll come down to take his service. Dan Ensch also now onto pit road. So these drivers taking service, you can follow along at the bottom, watch their overall time on the track as well as their time in the box, as our timing provides that for you. So we go back to the lead, and it is Jason Lowe, 3 times running champion, before Graham Bunyan came in last season and made a total dedicated effort to it and put his name down as the season 11 champion. Now on to season 12, and it's been a lot of the same stuff, but Jason Lowe's kind of struggled this season. Struggled out of the gate to find some consistency, be able to get top finishes, and that has pretty much cost him a shot at the championship. But Jason Lowe now in first as we await him to come into the pits. This also leaves last season's winner Howard Livingston in second place. Iñigo Mardones also in third, with Mike West and Rick Lovison, Richard Kelbaugh all on pit road. We also see David Zaleski on pit road. Now everybody making their way out of the pits. So at the moment, here's Lowe coming into the pits. Will he manage to get it down to the speed limit? That is the question. And of course, we don't get any sort of actual official notification. iRacing does not send us the notification if somebody has sped on pit road. really the only thing that we ever see is that they're stuck on pit road, and we're trying to figure out why. There's Howard Livingston bringing it in, smoking the tires just a little bit with Iñigo Mardones a few car lengths back. So they make their way into the pits, and now we wait for Jason Lowe to make his way around. So will Jason Lowe be overtaken by David Strid? Indeed he is. There goes by David Strid and Ryan Bowles. So Strid coming in very early, trying that undercut strategy, and it seems to have worked. Strid now with Bowles just behind, and Howard Livingston coming out of the pits now in third. We will see how far he tumbles. He's down to 6th, 7th, so 8th now. So these drivers that tried the overcut strategy, tried to go further than their competition, it just isn't paying off. And now they drop back down through the field. So Strid, Bowles are your leaders, with Zaleski behind, and he's got his hands filled with Graham Bunyan. Graham Bunyan there on the outside, and Zaleski on the inside. So we are now 41 laps into this one. Still Howard Livingston back on pit road, so unfortunately for him, it looks as though he's either sped on pit road or had some sort of other penalty, possibly speeding exiting pit road, so he had to come back in. Usually, if you get a penalty speeding entering pit road, you just serve your penalty on that lap. So unfortunate break for last season's winner, Howard Livingston. He's going to need a caution to catch back up. And we continue to watch this race here for third position, as Zaleski and Bunyan are now 2 seconds away from the front group, which means they are officially out of that league group pace. League group draft, excuse me. So this chase group, if you will, of Zaleski, Bunyan, and Lowe kind of need to work together instead of side by side to be able to work their way back up there under this green flag condition. But right now, it looks like they're dropping a little bit further back. If you're watching those gap times over there, they're not exactly what I'm seeing here in my timing and scoring, but they're very close. So just over 2 seconds, and you would need that gap to get under 2 seconds, closer to 1.5 seconds before the draft is really going to start to pick up these cars. So this battle going on for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But so far, these drivers just out of that lead group's draft. And so now we watch Ryan Bowles and David Strid swap positions here, trying to see who wants the lead, who prefers to break the clean air and get the clean drive of the car off of the corner. So the question is, you can see them still fighting it out behind to see who wants to be third. But this is where your lead group battle is. Now, if we look back past that group of Jason Lowe and Graham Bunyan, David Zaleski there in third as they try to sort that one out. Just behind, you've got Mike West, who's now about 0.6 back from Jason Lowe, as you can see. So he'll manage to probably climb his way back up there. I'll tell you another driver who's actually having a really decent race. It's Will Stearns. We haven't had much of a chance to really talk about him. It does seem as though the gremlins come out for Stearns during the race, but he's overcoming some recent personal tragedy, and, you know, I know real-life driver over there, Jason Lowe, will probably speak to this, but when you do this kind of stuff for a decade, it gives you a nice place to go to and just focus in on and zone in on your racing, your racecraft, and just enjoy driving these Dallara IR18 Indy cars as hard as you can on these tracks. So kind of hoping for Stearns to have a good race here and get a solid finish. It would be great to maybe sometime even be able to talk to him in a post-race interview after a podium position or something. But Stearns now continuing in seventh position, and he's gained 5 spots on the day. You can see they're all part of this group. It's Stearns, Iñigo Mardones just outside, Rick Lovison and Richard Kelbaugh. All of these cars together. Now Dan Ensch has actually caught up to this group, which is great news for the Dan Ensch fans in the crowd. Of course, trying to represent that Alz.org, Alzheimer's Association, Spark VR machine, and get the word out about ending Alzheimer's. But Dan fell back on the initial stint, and now having to fight real hard to get back up there. But if he can get up to at least this next pack, that will give him a shot at a top 5. And again, he just doesn't want to lose that draft overall, because as it stands right now, he's 11 seconds off. And, well, it's 25 seconds around here, so now just coming up to halfway. I mean, there is a chance that if he falls any further off of this draft, he'll lose more speed and possibly risk going a lap down. Of course, that's not where you want to be, with a chance at, you know, any one of these drivers really has a chance. And here now he's managed to use that draft. He's climbed up on the back of Rick Kelbaugh, trying to look around the outside possibly for that 10th position. Rick hanging on very well there in that 10th spot. Just kind of biding his time. I mean, this is it's just a strategy. You know, do you want to run up front? Do you want to run kind of in the mid-pack? You want to save your tires? Do you want to try to fuel save? It's all strategy, and ultimately, you know, Rick right now is shown 10 seconds adrift of first place, but should a caution come out, it will be literally anybody's race. And so you can see the lap card now of Howard Livingston, not just a lap down, but gone down several laps due to that green flag stop that he had to make. But Howard Livingston there on the outside with Dan Ensch on the inside, and now Dan is, well, you know, talking with Dan last week, he says he's kind of had enough of this conservative fuel strategy stuff. Now, I don't really necessarily believe him that he's done with fuel strategy, fuel savings, but, I mean, he makes a point in that it just hasn't really paid out the way that it sometimes does. Oftentimes, fuel conservation has really played a role in who wins these races, but so far it has been the aggressive strategy. The cars that decide to undercut, the cars that get aggressive and come up through the field. Wow, as we can see Rick Lovison and Will Stearns having quite a bit of a battle there for 7th place. And now Dan Ensch just up behind in 9th. Trying to see if he can take that position away. So now these drivers, so Dan racing with this group, everybody is kind of dropping back from those front 2 of David Strid and Ryan Bowles. As we see now Rick Lovison down to the inside and almost touching wheels with Will Stearns. That's for 7th position. That's one of the most aggressive moves I've ever seen out of Rick Lovison, but there you go, taking the position. He says, I want to get forward. And again, part of this is, it's important at this point that you start watching the gap times, because you don't want to fall too far back from the leaders. You know, as I mentioned before, it would really behoove, if I can use that word, these drivers to kind of work together and draft swap going forward, try to pass each other and provide an extra boost of speed to the other going into the corners. As Will Will Stearns just gives about 1 car length there. Now, but the other problem is that the favored line here is really on the inside. So, you know, as we look back up into the front, if you're not intending, if you don't give that inside line to the opponent to pass you, as you can see Strid making room for Bowles to go past there. Strid doesn't have to do that, but he's choosing to do it. Why? Because it's working. They pulled out over 2 seconds on David Zaleski in third, and while Zaleski and Lowe cannot as efficiently draft swap going forward, this is really the only way to break away from the pack. So I don't know if Bowles and Strid had decided to work together ahead of time. Nobody tells us anything. But if they did, and it certainly appears as though they are working together, it is working to their benefit as again, that gap back to third is now about 3 seconds. And so now Strid into the pits, and no, actually, he tried to make it into the pits, and he spins into the pits somewhat out of control. I'm not sure if he made it in. Let's take a look. Did he make it? It's very difficult to tell whether or not he actually made it down to the pit speed limit on time. He slid in, and that's not the ideal way to do it, but nevertheless, he made it in. He didn't. I don't think he violated the pit speed limit. So, good stuff there, recovering from what could have been an absolute disaster for Strid, hitting from the lead group. And now you can see Ryan Bowles also on pit lane. So both of these drivers continuing to try this undercut strategy, and if you're looking at the lap count, they're going to be able to make it on one more stop, so that is not going to be an issue whatsoever. And they'll just have to ask themselves, when is the ideal time to pit next? But Bowles heading back out, and it looks like about a 3 second gap now to David Strid behind. 2.6 seconds at the moment. I don't know if we can get a camera angle that quite shows everybody there, but that's how far the gap is now, and that's great news for somebody like Ryan Bowles, who the American wants to, you know, be able to, if anything, put a gap on everybody. But I don't think he can do that by himself, and so now that we look back, you can see that Graham Bunyan and countryman friend David Strid are teamed up together, and I think they will draft swap their way back up to the front. In the meantime, it is Jason Lowe, David Zaleski, Mike West, Dan Ensch, and Will Stearns actually all the way back to 8th place have not, and now we see Dan Ensch making his way down into the pits, as well as I believe is that Will Stearns just behind? Yes, indeed. It was kind of a late entry. I don't think he'll be penalized for that, but he came across the... he might get an off track, but I don't think he'll be penalized for unsafe pit entry. Nevertheless, these drivers making their pit stops, kind of maybe learning from that first round of stops, and now we've also got David Zaleski making his way down pit lane. Don't worry, they're not crashing on pit lanes. That's all part of it. In the pits, these cars can overlap without damaging each other, but as soon as they head back out onto the racetrack, well, any touch will unfortunately end in disaster. So there's Jason Lowe continuing with Mike West, Richard Kelbaugh, Iñigo Mardones, and now Rick Lovison making his pit from 5th. And we'll see whether this overcut strategy this time pays off for Lowe, as he does have Mike West right behind, but I don't think they're draft swapping at this point. And we'll have to see how this fully shakes out. I mean, right now we've got a 34 second gap to Ryan Bowles from Jason Lowe. That's not going to be enough time for him to get into the pits, get service, and then rejoin on the track. So we watch and see here. 34:51 was the last gap time that I had to Ryan Bowles, and Lowe making a very good entry to the pits, leaving Mike West out on the track. And he will take service. We'll see how far exactly through the field he will fall. As now Ryan Bowles, actually Iñigo Mardones, still shown in the lead. Yet to pit here for his second stop. And very, very fast and actually not late. Just a very quick entry there off of turn 4. So he made it just fine. And now we'll see, as Jason Lowe has now fallen to 7th place, 3.4 seconds back. So that is exactly pretty much what we were saying. And Bowles now resumes the lead, 1.22 seconds over David Strid. That will not be enough. Look out the back of this screaming Dallara IR18 IndyCar as it heads down the back stretch, actually down the front stretch here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's Ryan Bowles who's leading here on lap 77. It's been caution-free thus far. We look back, Graham Bunyan now side by side with David Strid, and they try to make their way forward using that draft and swapping efficiently. You see just behind David Zaleski, already a winner here in the series this season, and now we're looking to see whether Zaleski has something to say to this front group at the end. He's hung on for dear life through this whole first 2 stints, and now he's in perfect position to perhaps challenge at the end of this race. So from on board with Zaleski, there you see the challenge up in front. That's your front 3. Seems so easy to just go up there and get it, but can't push your right foot down any harder. Of course, we talk about it every week. This is a fixed setup series, and for those of you that would like to join US IndyCar League as we get set for season 13, head on over to iRacing.com, and actually there's a link down in the description, but head on over to iRacing.com and look up the US IndyCar League on the league search function and apply. And all you got to do is have some basic car handling capability, show that you have been able to run the IndyCar on some ovals, and that you're competent. Maybe they'll have you come out and run a practice session with them just to verify. But soon enough, you'll see yourself out there in the US IndyCar League and maybe being able to challenge these drivers for a podium position. So we saw a new driver joining us today in Andrew Dirks. Unfortunately, Dirks not quite able to have the race I'm sure that he would like in his debut. So we watch Zaleski now kind of drifting up mid-track, mid-corner, up onto that high groove. Interesting line through the corner. Seems to keep him in touch, though, with this lead group as they've now caught Ryan Bowles. And now back at the front, it is a very familiar story. Ryan Bowles and David Strid at the front of this race, battling it out for first. As they go side by side here, and Strid emerges in the lead once again. Bowles dives back down to the inside. And now I guess the question is, will they continue to draft swap? I don't know. If they were working together before, they may still be trying to pull away from the rest of the competition. as they've now opened up this lead group, is now 3.3 seconds over Jason Lowe. Take a look at when the drivers were into the pits. This shouldn't matter too much, as everybody on their next stop should be able to make it to the end. But I tell you what could be a factor. If you look at the fact that Jason Lowe came in substantially later than everyone else, as well as Mike West, who's 2.8 seconds back, one thing that they can do by overcutting the competition is they will be able to short fill on that last stop. Now, it takes about the same amount of time to fill the tank as it does to put tires on the car. So if you're going to put tires on, you might as well fill the tank, and vice versa. However, just depends on how much fuel they need, and it depends on whether we get 1 or 2 cautions before the end of this. So, I mean, any of that could play a role as we see these drivers now working around the off-pace car now of Howard Livingston, who's dropping to the back of this group. Unfortunate for last season's winner here in the Care Camps machine. He was at the top step of the podium. It was a really glorious day to see Howard be able to take that victory. But unfortunately, it's not really looking like it's going to shape up that way today, as he's now several laps off the pace and falling back a bit. But back at the front, little rundown, we got Ryan Bowles, who's been fighting it out with David Strid pretty much this whole race. It began in the very beginning, and they worked together to get away from the rest of the group. And they're continuing to work together here on lap 90 of 127, as this race is just absolutely flying by. Hope you're enjoying it out there in YouTube land. Don Day dropping in, saying hello. We do appreciate it. Hello, Don. Unfortunately, you've only seen me in one of the races out here this season, and I know he's had numerous technical issues. Don Day wants to be out here on the racetrack with these competitors, but hopefully he's got his issues solved. We'll be able to see him next week at Indy. And that was what I was going to say about Howard Livingston. He's got a great race next week to really focus on, and hopefully he'll be able to have a great finish for the Care Camps 250 next week at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Should be a very special event, as it always is. Anytime you're driving an Indy car at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, always super special. Continuing here on lap 92, it is Ryan Bowles. He's moved up a couple of spots today. David Strid running in second. Graham Bunyan in third. All these drivers just trying to position themselves for this last stint before putting all their cards on the table, and we can see who's got what. But Zaleski now running in fourth. He's gained 5 spots today. Jason Lowe in fifth. He's exactly where he qualified. Dan Ensch running in sixth. He's actually up a couple of spots, so he did drift back quite a ways on that opening stint, but he's managed to kind of position himself as best of the rest now, as Mike West, apologize for all the rhyming, but Mike West has now fallen back about 3.5 seconds back. You can see him at the back of the screen there. And then, so we look back to Mike West now. He's gained 4 spots from where he started. Again, he started in 11th, so, you know, these are always good mile markers, milestones to accomplish. You always want to end up finishing better than you qualify. And so Mike West just, you know, again, a lot of these drivers just really trying to complete these races. I mean, I'm being totally honest with you, it's hard to make it 127 laps with an IndyCar around these tracks, predominantly because you do have to keep making adjustments out there, and that's one of those things that they do from inside the cockpit. As we see now, the first to bite, and this is very interesting strategy. I thought they might continue the overcut, but David Zaleski And Jason Lowe now onto pit lane, trying the undercut strategy, and this could really work out to their benefit. And the reason is because this will get their final stop done, and they will not need to pit again. So this will serve them well. Should a caution flag come out, the others will drop to the back, and they'll be able to stay out. And similarly, it pretty much will make David Strid have to pass. And now we can see reacting very quickly, David Strid and Graham Bunyan, as well as Iñigo Mardones, onto pit lane, getting their stops, their final stops done. So they respond very, very quickly to this undercut strategy. They did not want to get left out there and lose potentially a couple of seconds. Ryan Bowles, your leader, onto pit lane. So this will take care of his final stop as well, and that will then put Dan Ensch temporarily into the lead, with Rick Lovison in second momentarily, and Richard Kelbaugh in third. Mike West is now into the pits. So Ensch continuing here on lap 100. Rick Lovison in second, and this man, Mr. StickQuik, riding currently in third place. He's up 4 positions. He will have to make that final stop. So we'll go side by side. You won't have to miss anything. It's StickQuik. You see it on the side pod there. It's been stuck there since we started covering the season, or started covering the US IndyCar League, and sticking to things is what the StickQuik does. Maybe you've seen the name, but you don't quite know what the product is by now. If that's the case, you haven't really been paying attention to the broadcast, because we talk about it a lot. But look at this thing on the screen. It's round, and it's made of silicone, heavy duty silicone, weather resistant, chemical resistant, etc. And they're kind of funky shape. They look like a ring that would go around your finger. So there you can see what it does. You put it around your wrenches, put it around handles of things, screwdrivers. In your kitchen, you can put it around utensils, your mixer, you know, pens, pencils. I've talked about it as putting it around a razor, being able to stick it up in your shower. The cool part is that built into each one of these is a magnet, and it will stick to metal. So right off the bat, you put anything inside of this little ring and it will stick right to your refrigerator or your shop toolbox. Anything you can, you know, my front door is made out of metal, and so I could just stick stuff right to my front door. I've got my I've got a little dry erase board on my front door on the inside that tells me not to forget stuff before I leave the house, like my keys and my wallet and my phone. And so I have my dry erase markers held up there with the StickQuiks. So how great is that? You can definitely get yours today. You just head over to StickQuik.com. There's 6 different colors, 3 different sizes in one pack. It's the perfect holiday gift. If you're not buying your StickQuik, you are going to be sad, because you'll be looking at all of your other presents under the tree and you'll say, gosh darn it, I remember that StickQuik thing that Trevor was talking about and that I've been seeing all season, and I didn't get some for my friends and family. But if you got buddies in, you know, the mechanic world, or if you've got friends and family, they've never probably seen something like this, because there isn't really anything like it. Head over to StickQuik.com today and get yours. Rick Kelbaugh, Mr. StickQuik, stuck to the track, and StickQuik will stick in your life forever. I love doing these live reads. Love doing the live reads. Back to action here as Mr. StickQuik, Rick Kelbaugh, brings it down pit lane for the final time. We do look back at the front, and we've got a heck of a barn burner happening here. It's David Strid on the outside in the very familiar day-glow red and white colors. And just passing him on the inside, you've got the Graham Rahal tribute livery there from Ryan Bowles, now up in the front. But look at this battle. This Graham Bunyan is right in the middle of this, along with David Zaleski. Now, Mike West is actually not on the lead lap, as we see someone up into, it looked like they got up into the wall. That possibly was David Strid. So we'll keep an eye on this one as this battle gets intense. Coming up to just 20 laps to go. Who will it be? David Strid, Ryan Bowles, Graham Bunyan, and David Zaleski all racing for position, with Mike West trying to get his lap back. It's going to be tough for him to get his lap back because these drivers are not just out there coasting around. It looks like they're fighting hard for first, second, and third here. So keep an eye on that orange and black machine back there for David Zaleski, as he very well might end up making a challenge for the front. And in the meantime, just behind this group, you've got this group with Jason Lowe, who's leading Iñigo Mardones and Rick Lovison, who are a lap down at the moment. But Lowe is trying so desperately to get back up there into that front group after trying to undercut. He's actually 4 seconds back, and the primary reason is he just doesn't have any drafting partner at this point. If he was within a second and a half, he'd be able to haul in cars in front, but as you can see, it's just a lot of emptiness in front. Might get a little bit of a draft off of that car up in the very front. Not sure who that is, but it's somebody who's a lap down. So we'll go back up to the front, and it's Ryan Bowles. Sadly, one note is looks like Will Stearns has pulled it in. We missed that, but on lap 76 had to pull it in. So the Will Stearns fans out there, sorry to say he will not get a top 5 again today, but he looked very good in the early running here, and we'll look forward to seeing if maybe he can improve next week at Indy, one of those classic tracks a lot of drivers have a lot of experience with. So we're 14 laps to go here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the Las Vegas 190, presented by StickQuik, US IndyCar League, Season 12, Round 11. And it's been quite a battle at the front, a lot of this pack racing, as you might call it, but there's been some interesting strategy with drivers working together, working their way forward, and using that draft very efficiently, namely Ryan Bowles, David Strid, and not a surprise, Graham Bunyan, but I have to say David Strid, Ryan Bowles really had an excellent strategy going. I kind of thought they were going to walk away from Graham Bunyan, but easier said than done to walk away from the last season's champion Graham Bunyan and current leading points driver and soon to be crowned again champion Graham Bunyan, trying to go after that title for most amount of titles earned here in the US IndyCar League. I have a feeling Jason Lowe is going to have something serious to say about that next season, but we'll see. Will it be another driver who will make that challenge? We never know. It could be fellow Australian David Strid. He's shown very well. Looking at it today, Ryan Bowles, he's also showing extremely well. So any one of these drivers having a shot at the win today, but also kind of a glimpse at what we might have a peak, saying that all wrong, a glimpse at what we might see in season 13. For certain, some great talent here in the US IndyCar League. And as a reminder, we've been caution-free this whole race. Again, at a place like Las Vegas, easier said than done, but caution-free thus far. And just 10 laps to go. Ryan Bowles in the lead of this one. David Strid running in second. Graham Bunyan in third. David Zaleski running in fourth. Just as they have been, but coming down to the wire. Pretty soon we're going to start to see some of these drivers making their moves. Jason Lowe with Rick Lovison, a lap car just behind him, not able to make an improvement, now falling to 5 seconds back. Dan Ensch, currently shown in 6th position. Yes, he's gained 2 spots, but no, he's 14 seconds adrift of those leaders. You see Mike West here hanging off the back of that lead pack, but he, of course, is a lap down. Richard Kelbaugh currently in 8th spot. So earlier we were talking about him in 10th. He's now moved up to 8th. Rick Lovison running with Jason Lowe, but unfortunately not on that same lead lap. And Lovison's lost 3 spots from where he has qualified today in the Berkshire Lakeside Lodge machine. Howard Livingston kind of running in his own gap now. One of those sad things where you've fallen off of the lead pack and just don't have the car to do it today. And unfortunately, we lost Iñigo Mardones. We do have a note here that Mardones did crash. We'll take a look at that. And there you can see just coming through the tri-oval. We'll go back to that and see if we can figure out. I think this is what we saw earlier from dirt. Just, that's amazing. Just coming through that tri-oval, I mean, just loses it. And really unfortunate for the Spanish driver, as he's now fallen back and fallen out of race contention. So he'll have to watch this one from the sidelines. As we look on here, it's a 4-way battle for first. Who will it be? 4 to go. David Strid coming forward. There you see Graham Bunyan in third. And David Zaleski in fourth. We look on board from David Zaleski. Will he have anything to say at the end of this one? He's going to have to start making that move forward very quickly. Will he dial up the weight jacker? Does he got any more tricks in store? Will we see Ryan Bowles with his first win of the season? Will it be Graham Bunyan's next win of the season, or David Strid's second win? Will none of them win when they each take each other out? Any one of these things are a possibility, as we're now down to 3 laps to go. We're on board with David Zaleski, Mr. Excitement. I think that's what I want to call him. Will he be Mr. Excitement today? He actually races with the helmet of the Dale Earnhardt open-faced helmet. So, you know, if that tells you where his mind is at regarding the draft, Zaleski definitely trying to be the intimidator. Will he be able to, as we are on the final lap here? It's still a 4-way battle for first, but it looks like Strid has put himself in first position thus far. Bowles back to the inside. Who will it be? Is it Ryan Bowles? Is it David Strid? We come down to the line, and it is Ryan Bowles, American Ryan Bowles, who takes the victory over Australian David Strid and fellow Australian Graham Bunyan. David Zaleski not able to get that orange and black machine forward, as Strid will take second and Bunyan, your points leader, will take third. Zaleski, as I mentioned, in fourth, and Jason Lowe finishing in fifth. Just fell too far back from that lead draft, couldn't really make it work. Ensch is going to be happy with this, I think, just based on the fact that he qualified 8th and he moved up to 6th, but another race where strategy didn't really work out in his favor. West ending up in 7th place, had the pace to run up front. Unfortunately, just once again, the card's not really working in his favor today. And we look back here to start finish as your leader and winner, Ryan Bowles, waits for David Strid, second place, to finish his donuts. Bowles looks to do some donuts of his own as we get the top 4 here right at start-finish line. Great display and some great sportsmanship for the others to show up and salute Ryan Bowles, who drove a masterful race today. Absolutely fantastic as these drivers continue to do some donuts. We'll go ahead and get the final results up here on the screen for you. There you go. It's Ryan Bowles. You see him spinning donuts on front straightaway, entertaining this crowd who's on their feet. And it must feel great as he is absolutely trying to blow that engine. I don't know if he'll succeed in it. Bowles with the win. David Strid second. Bunyan third. Zaleski fourth. Jason Lowe fifth. Dan Ensch in sixth. Mike West in seventh. Richard Kelbaugh in eighth. And Rick Lovison ninth. Howard Livingston in 10th. We're going to try to get over into our interview area, see if we can pick up these drivers as they jump in off of the racetrack, and possibly we'll be able to get a word with them as finally Bowles does manage to expire that engine. So let's see who we can snag here. See if we can get a quick moment with Dan. See if we can talk to Dan Ensch here, see if he's around. Hey, Dan, can you hear me there in your side of the broadcast booth?
Yeah, loud and clear. How you doing, Trevor?
I'm doing just great, my friend. We watched the alls.org machine move up and then kind of move back. We saw you drift off of that lead pack there in the first stint, but it looked like you were making some progress at the end. It was too little too late at the end and not enough to be able to catch that front group.
Yeah, I got off to a horrible start. I wiggled around lap 5 or 6, somewhere in there, and got about 3.5 seconds behind the pack, and I got up just within drafting range, and then Andrew had his accident up into the wall, and I had to slow down to avoid that, and of course it stayed green the whole time, so I never got back those 6 seconds, and I just spent the rest of the race trying to get what I could. But the alls.org machine was running pretty good, and I managed to catch up to at least a mid-pack and go through them pretty easily. Came up with a pretty good finish for 6th. I'll take it.
And again, it's one of those championship type of days. There's 13 that enter, and even though you'd want to be up there in that lead group at the very end, to come in 6th still gives you some good points, keeps you in that championship battle there for 3rd, 4th, 5th. And you got to bring it home. You got to finish to get those points. And really, that's the main thing at the end. Just don't crash out.
Never give up, never surrender.
Indeed. Well, and speaking of that, we desperately want to see that alls.org purple machine up there on the podium and possibly in victory lane. Now, next week is a perfect opportunity to do that. Of course, we're going to be at the world famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What would it mean to you to be able to end up in victory lane next week?
Oh, everything. I mean, any time you can run at Indianapolis is a treat. And if you ever win it, even if it's iRacing or e-racing, whatever you want to call it, it's just such a mind-blowing experience. I've won a couple of them in the regular racing, and it just, it's a dream. It's a dream and a fantasy. And when you do it, it's just, I can't even imagine beating these guys at Indianapolis, but I'm going to give it my all.
You have to pull a couple of extra rabbit's feet or horseshoes out of somewhere to make it happen against this crowd. Pretty tough group. But just out of curiosity, what kind of milk should they have prepared for you next week?
Chocolate all the way. I want to be the first guy at Indy to drink chocolate.
Well, there you go. We'll hold him to that. Always great to have Dan Ensch on. Any shout outs before we move on to the rest of the group?
Well, yeah, we want to thank StickQuik, of course, for making all of this possible today. And I want to thank alls.org, of course. And we hope you'll look that up and help out there. And thank you for making all this broadcasting possible. I can't wait to see the end of this race. I was looking at the times and man, I can't wait to go back and look at the end of that and hear your call.
It was a lot of fun. I won't spoil it for you. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
No, it was a lot of fun. It's always a lot of fun and always great to have you joining us, Dan. And look forward to seeing you this next week, and get ready for Indy, because it's a showdown. You got to get one in the books for season 12. Okay.
Got to. All right. Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks, Dan. So Dan Ensch joining us off the track. Again, one of those championship days, as I was mentioning, got to bring it home. Sometimes sixth place is the best place for it to be, especially if you're going to push it harder than that and ends up in the wall or something like that. It's good to end up with those points at the end of the season. So let's see if we can grab someone else here. I think we've got. Let's go ahead and talk to our third place finisher. Let's talk to Graham Bunyan. Hey, Graham, can you hear me?
Certainly can.
Well, this is kind of unfamiliar territory to you, Graham, all the way back in third, but it was less than 0.2 of a second up to first. Talk us through your race today and kind of what made it such an exciting finish there at the end.
Well, my race today was just to turn up and do one lap. And that was to secure the championship. Hello. I didn't want to get involved in the race. I just wanted to sit there and just let it all unfold out in front. I was quite happy with where I was. Like I say, I just wanted to finish off with some good points.
And indeed you did. Coming away with third place. We talk about championship implications. Even in a race where you don't need to win or come in second or third, you still managed to be up there in third. But it was pretty impressive watching Bowles and Strid swap position back and forth. They managed to actually pull away from you in the draft. I kind of thought for a minute there, Bowles and Strid were going to open up, a multiple second gap and keep that to the end. Nevertheless, this ran green the whole way, and with pit stop strategy, you were able to get your way back up there. Did you see an opportunity to make a pass for first, or were you just kind of hanging back and trying to hold on to that third position and not crash out today?
Yeah, look, I was just hanging back, just wanted to hold on to that third place. I mean, the second pit, Ryan and Dave had a great first pit. They pulled away, they were gone. I pitted the same lap as Dave, and Dave had a bit of a mishap coming into the pits and got a bit crossed up and managed to regather it just as I was coming into pit lane as well. So we both went out together, so we both had to work together to catch back up to Ryan. So once from there, it was just a matter of just staying behind, and I didn't want to fight for the win. I think that, I was quite happy with where I was.
And again, where you were is good enough. As you said, you could have just started in park today and gotten the points, but instead, you gave us quite a show, and certainly we're in the right place should either one of those front two tangle to take this victory today. But another great show from our current champion and soon to be crowned yet again season champion. But now let's talk about next race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. How great is it to have this be the final race of the season? It's a chance for you to get crowned champion, but also drink milk at the end of the day. Are you going to go into it with a winning mindset, like you want to take that victory, or is it a chance to ride around and possibly get third place and still take the championship? What are you going into next week with?
I'm going in there with the intentions to win. Who doesn't want to win at Indianapolis? It's it's a great track to race at, and it's a great track to actually be able to say you won at. So, very good. Won a few Indy 500s there, and I'm going to turn up and I'm going to push.
What's been your history at Indy in fixed and in the official 500s? Have you finished well there? Have you qualified well? Has Indy treated you well, or has it been one of those tracks like for me that I'm snake bit there? Maybe one day I'll get it, but what's it been like for you?
Yeah, look, been in a couple of the televised Indy 500 ones. Got taken out in the very first one by just being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Two cars got together on lap 90 and put me into turn 3 wall. So that was the end of my race that year. Won the top split of the Indy 500 week. So that was pretty good, though. I think it was a strength of field of 6,000 or something that was. But yeah, Indianapolis, I love it. It's a track that I excel at pretty well.
Well, we'll look to see next week as you're pretty much the benchmark for everyone to match, beat, or as it's been the case, you've been beaten by. But next week, we'll look forward to something special at Indianapolis with the Care Camps 250. Thanks for joining us and bringing your quality of racing here to the US IndyCar League, and congratulations on another podium here in the league. Congrats, man.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you. And congrats to both Ryan and Dave. Great race.
Absolutely. So we'll get a chance to talk with, I know David yet again, I don't think wants to.
He's a mute.
We'll just assume that he is. Either way, he's the fastest non-speaking driver we've ever seen. Congratulations to David. Maybe someday we'll get him in, but obviously, please give him our congratulations. See you next week, Graham.
See you, mate.
All right, bud. So we'll actually, we do have a chance to chat with somebody we've never gotten a chance to talk with yet, and that is Ryan Bowles, who's joining us in off the track. He did manage to outduel David Strid there at the end. Pretty darn exciting stuff. Hey, Ryan, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, bud. Sounds perfect. You got your levels right and everything. It's excellent. Nice. Congratulations, Ryan. What a heck of a win. It was an amazing race to watch. You qualified third, and they're right on the start. I mean, you kind of made yourself known. You charged forward, took the lead, and then it looked like you were either intentionally draft swapping with David Strid, or perhaps you were just taking advantage of him wanting to work with you. But either way, you weren't giving up that lead. You kept surging back to the lead. And so talk us through your race and how you managed to get to victory lane.
Well, like you said, I took the lead early, so that kind of set the tone for what I was going to do for the rest of the race. And then, so I pretty much, held the lead through the first stint. And then, Dave and I had that great pit stop and came out 2 seconds ahead of everybody else. So then, yeah, we were just still running around. Then we decided to swap draft, try to maybe pull away a little bit.
And you did, and that was working expertly. Unfortunately, I thought you and Strid were going to have your own race at the end. You did manage to pull out well over 2 seconds. And then after that final round of pit stops, it didn't quite seem to work out that way, as both Bunyan and Zaleski were able to close up. And I thought, okay, now we've got a 4-way battle. Were you feeling any extra pressure at that point? Like, oh, I almost had this 2-way battle for the final victory, and now I got to deal with Zaleski and Bunyan back there. Were you feeling any heat, or were you just continuing on with the same strategy? Just keep getting to the front, passing David Strid.
Just continuing on. I mean, I was in front, so it's difficult to worry about too much about what's going on behind you. So yeah, it was just try to hold the lead.
And, again, a lot of drivers do. They watch their mirrors. They're watching the relative timing. Next thing you know, you're watching your mirrors. Who's going to my outside? Who's going to my inside? Difficult to focus on what's going on in front of you. But as you said, you kept your nose down, kept your head down, and you now on that last lap, take us through what you're thinking as David Strid is in the lead, and then you're trying to make the pass. Were you afraid that he was going to chop down on you? What were you thinking there at the end?
We're actually teammates, so it's I knew what he was going to do.
Okay, not running similar liveries, so difficult for us to tell. But indeed, so if you're teammates, then you're definitely draft swapping together and working your way forward. But nevertheless, I'm sure Strid wanted to win this one just as bad.
We knew Graham had the championship. We knew David needed second, and I only come in every once in a while, so I got the win.
Well, there you go. So Ryan Bowles. Yes.
Yeah, basically the standings kind of determined who was going to. That's why there was not a big push at the end of the race.
Well, certainly Zaleski was in fourth, and I don't think he cared about whether you all are teammates or not. So
No,
you
he
had to
didn't.
keep pace, and you had to keep him at bay. I didn't see Bunyan really necessarily doing anything to, try to shake the draft from Zaleski or pin him to the inside, pin him to the outside. So Zaleski struggling maybe a little bit to try to get around all three of you. But nevertheless, hey, it's great to be part of a team that cares about you and allows you to be out there and in the front and take the victory. And in the meantime, it's your first victory here this season. So congratulations. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. You're absolutely right. I've totally forgot about that. Congratulations, Ryan. We just didn't talk to you last time. And so we're fortunate to get a chance to talk to you this season here on this second of last race here of the season. Now, been asking everybody about next week. How about at this race? The last time that the IndyCars were here was unfortunately the Dan Weldon year that he tragically lost his life here at the Speedway. Were you watching IndyCar at that time?
No.
No. But still, you
I haven't watched IndyCar since like the 90s.
Oh, wow.
But I do keep track, but I haven't really watched it, no.
Well, again, it's much like Indy in that it shares some very famous notoriety in the IndyCar scene, and obviously to win here is a special thing. Lionheart is a name that has become synonymous with obviously also a racing league, but also with Dan Weldon passing away here. So we just always want to pay tribute here to Dan and what he meant to the IndyCar series. And of course, you able to take this victory here. Pretty special stuff to win at Las Vegas Motor Speedway when the real life IndyCars will probably never race here again. Next week at Indy, what would it mean to you to win at Indy? And have you done much official racing at Indianapolis Motor Speedway? And how has it treated you over the years?
Pretty good. It's it depends on the setup kind of a race. Good passy, racy setup, I'm generally really good. Open, I'm pretty good because, you have your own setup.
Mm-hmm.
I think I won 2019, the 500.
You won the official 500 in 2019?
An official, not the official. Not
well.
like the big one, but I think the highest I rating of that, of the people who didn't qualify.
Well, that is awesome. Maybe, the cars are quite different than they were then. Of course, different aero configuration. And of course, this being the fixed series, that'll be a bit of a different experience. But again, if you do manage to end up in victory lane at the end of the next race, and you're presented with milk, what kind of milk will it be?
Kroger, I think.
Yeah. Kroger, 2%. You got
2%,
full milk.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I could drink whole, but I can't drink one or skim.
Okay, no skim milk, no chocolate milk like Graham Bunyan either.
I could do chocolate, I guess. Just
okay.
Quick.
Well, we'll ask you next week if that's where you end up. So fortunately, and of course, that'd be very special here in the US IndyCar League. Very select group of winners who have taken Indianapolis. So congratulations here on your victory again. Ryan, great to see you in victory lane, and good luck next week. Do you have any more shout outs to say here on the air?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay, no shout outs. So thanks, Ryan, for joining us from victory lane, and good luck with the rest of your season. And hopefully next season that we'll see you in the series. Congrats, man.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. So finally, I'd like to bring Jason Lowe in here, season series admin, as long as he can hear me. Hey, Jason, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear, Trevor.
Hey, Jason. It looked like you had a good car. It looked like you were competitive at times, but the strategy just didn't end up in your favor today. Can you take us through your race a little bit and tell us what took you out of that lead group?
Well, first and foremost, congratulations to Graham Bunyan, our series champion. What
Twice.
A driver he is.
2 times running now.
Yeah, it's he's the benchmark. Let's not kid ourselves. He is the man we go against every week. He's a tremendous talent on iRacing. Ryan is as well. It's great to have him make time to come back to the league. David Strid, Dave Z. What a top 4 we had today. I qualified 5th. I was a 5th place car most of the day. I had a awkward entry to the pits on my second stop where I came off of the banking onto the flat pretty hard, and I lost 3 miles an hour off the top end from there on. So I don't know whether it dinged the floor of the car or it dinged the side pod, but once that happened, I couldn't even stay with the lead four, even in the draft. I just slowly fell back. And I was fortunate to have a gap on Dan, or he would have got me in the end. He was reeling me in. Like I said, 3 miles an hour is like 2/10 there, and it was killing me. I actually got really loose close to the end of the race. I don't know why. Again, mystery, but I actually had to put a bunch of negative weight jacker in the car just like to feel secure enough to keep going. Something was amiss, but I'll take a top 5. So proud of my guys to do another caution-free race. What a great league we have. Thanks to StickQuik. And speaking of that, Mr. StickQuik, Rick Kelbaugh actually had the fastest lap of the race, so a shout out to him.
Oh wow, did not even notice that. Wasn't really watching Fast Lap today, but that is a heck of a accomplishment, and certainly his speed continues to improve. Here he got another top 10. He ended up in 8th place. Not long before we're going to see him up there challenging for top 5s with you, Jason. So you better watch that black and green machine that's coming up fast. But you've taken 3 championships in a row in leading up to season 10, and then getting into season 11. It's pretty much when Graham Bunyan decided to make it a full-time adventure and try and take that championship, and he did successfully last season. Talk a little bit, if you can, just about what some drivers who are out there, they may think about joining this series. It's still approachable, right? Even though you've got some great talent that are doing well at the front and they seem to have it all figured out, there's still a lot of room if you're a good racer out there who can keep the car on the track and can do some competitive lap times. Anybody out there who wants to join US IndyCar League, they just need to get in contact with you, right?
That's the truth of it. But to be honest, recently we've had like some total rookies apply, people with like less than 10 oval races on their resume, people with no I mean, we do have some standards, so we don't just let anybody walk in off the street, unfortunately. I mean, that's why we have caution-free races, is we have some decent standards. Anyone is willing to practice with us. If they ask to practice with us, not race with us, we'll give anybody a shot to practice. And we're always looking to expand. I mean, we would like to have 30 cars on the track. We currently don't. We currently now go between 10 and 15 sometimes. But it's a quality bunch. It's a good bunch of guys. We have a good time together. I really enjoy the personalities we have. And also, I didn't mean to omit, congratulations to Ryan again for today's victory.
Absolutely. Great group. I want to say gentlemanly, but sometimes it does. I mean, sometimes that does go out the window. You guys race really, really hard with each other, but at the same time, mostly caution-free races. And as you mentioned, for everybody to race really hard as they did at the end, it was, and throughout the race, to see racers going that close with that much respect and bringing out no cautions. It's something special. We don't see it in the fixed series. We don't see it in the open series. So anybody out there who does have a little bit of experience in these Indy cars, wants something to do on Sunday mornings, head on over and shoot Jason Lowe a message on iRacing or apply, and you can probably get in and certainly get out there and practice. Thanks, Jason, for joining us. And of course, we'll look forward to next week's super special race at Indianapolis for the Kia Cams 250.
Yeah, I've got a pretty good relationship with Indy. I've finished top 3 a few times in some pretty big races on the official side. I've won it a couple times here in the league. I kind of run a unique outside line there that works when traffic is bunched up in the corners. I don't know where I came up with it, but it works, and I'm looking forward to it. It's now that Graham's got the title, I think the gloves are kind of coming off the rest of us, because this isn't for the title now. This is just for bragging rights.
Indeed, for bragging rights. I'm sure it would mean just as much to you to be able to be in victory lane. And since I'm asking everybody else, fill us in. What kind of milk do you want to have ready for you in victory lane?
Bourbon.
So we'll be watching carefully as they supply you the milk, and Jason drops a little extra something out of his sleeve into the milk. But we'll look.
The first racer in Indy to have a flask in Victory Lane.
That's right. Oh my goodness. I'll look for the pics, otherwise it didn't happen. Thanks, Jason, for bringing a little bit of humor and having a great Sunday with us. We'll look forward to the season finale next week in Indy.
Trevor, thanks for everything you do, and thanks for all the people who watch.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. And that's Jason Lowe, series administrator, joining us, and always one of the great racers here in the league. He frequently is a top finisher, but today getting that top 5, that championship finish. And again, for a lot of these drivers, it really is. I mean, with the type of season that Jason had early on, trying to just keep the car, pointed forwards and not crash, not have silly mistakes, etc. Finishing top 5, that's where you want to be. And David Zaleski, the same thing, ending up there in the top 4. That's a championship style finish, and if things had worked a little bit differently this season, we might have seen those drivers up fighting for second or possibly first in the championship. Nevertheless, great race here at Las Vegas. Hope you enjoyed it out there. Of course, stay tuned next week as the group heads off to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Should be a very exciting race, and we look forward to doing the coverage here on VirtualRacing.Network. So until next week, same time, same channel. On behalf of myself, Trevor Greenfield, and all of us here at VirtualRacing.Network, as well as the US IndyCar League, it's been a pleasure having you with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you at Indianapolis. Until then, have a great rest of your Sunday, or great Monday morning if you're one of the Australians. Bye-bye, everybody.